Welcome to Navigating the Jungle of Business. I'm Dr. Frumi Rachel Barr, and today I have a very special guest. Captain Joe Polanin is the COO and partner of the Barr Business School, where he supports forwarding our movement to raise the bar for entrepreneurs and leaders and change that horrible statistic that 90% of businesses fail. With a distinguished 30-year career in the U.S. Navy, Joe served in over 75 countries, can you imagine that? And was promoted to the top 1% of senior leaders. He has over 24 years of experience as a CEO and COO, leading globally integrated organizations to exceed expectations and thrive in high-risk environments. Notably, Joe has managed enterprises of up to 3,900 people, I can't even imagine that, across 3 continents, with an $847 million annual P&L, and he led the transformation of 123,000 plus people with a fiscal value of $79.8 billion. There's a lot more that I can say about Joe, but you can also read Joe's journey on our website's About page. Joe and I first bonded over discussing the benefits of having a portfolio career, and that is the focus of our conversation today. So let's dive in. And Joe, I feel so blessed having you as my business partner. I don't even know how that happened, but I am one lucky person. So what is important about having a portfolio career, Joe?
Oh, for me, well, first of all, let me just say thank you. The honor and privilege is mine to serve with and learn from you. And thank you very much for that kind and gracious introduction. I believe that there are many benefits to a portfolio career, but I'd like to share a few thoughts relevant to the benefit to the individual who is embarking upon such a career and benefits to the organizations, the companies, and the teams that they support. Everything that we do is about those whom we serve. So the mission of the organization, its vision, its guiding principles. So the benefit of a portfolio career upon the organizations that are supported by individuals is very, very critical, because there are a couple elements there that I'd like to share. The first one being the inherent and immense value that organization gets at a fraction of the cost. So the benefit to the organization is receiving 100% of the knowledge, skills, and abilities, capability, and capacity of that individual who's providing the fractional support. And they have the benefit of not having to pay for an FTE. The flip side to that is that there's also experiential diversity that benefits both the individual and the organization that's benefiting from it. So let's say, for example, I am supporting 2 different organizations. One happens to be involved in engineering and manufacturing. The other one happens to be involved in staffing and recruiting. One could say, well, those 2 organizations are very different. They're in different industries, different sectors. There probably isn't anything that would benefit the other. Well, when it comes to strategic growth, operations, team building, integrity, standard operating procedures, lessons learned, best practices, communication, managerial acumen, there are a lot of commonalities. And if I'm working as a fractional partner or a fractional leader in both of those organizations, and I happen to learn something new that's beneficial to the engineering firm in the morning, I can apply it immediately and decisively to the staffing and recruiting firm in the afternoon. And I can bring it into my larger portfolio for best practice and lessons learned down the line. Other organizations and entities aren't going to benefit from that, because leaders who are confined to one particular skill set or one particular industry and sector are only going to have that limitation placed upon them. And then lastly, to the individuals, that's a benefit. I want to make sure everybody knows that's a benefit for both the organization that's being supported and the individual. And then finally, for the individual, and I'll just use my personal example. For me, I remain so fresh and so engaged. I feel like I'm learning new things every day. And it's exciting. And it not only does it keep me fresh, and keep me current, but it enables me to not only provide the best practices that I've learned over the past 34 years to the companies and the organizations that I serve, but it allows me to stay current on the most recent trends, and in fact, in some cases, stay ahead of the trends. And that's what entrepreneurs and organizations need today. So I would highlight those three areas as a starting point. Again, there are many, many more, but those are some of the initial benefits that I see.
Well, that's one of the things that makes the Barr Business different. I act, as you know, as a fractional chief scaling officer, making sure companies don't grow broke. And so I'm always out there getting real-time information about what's going on in the industries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a lot of educational facilities are very static. So what we bring is a real fresh perspective all the time because we know what's happening because we're in the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Not to mention the other element of individual flexibility, individual adaptability, and individual the ability to as we adapt to learn and evolve. So there's a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of much of this. The support is provided either in a remote or hybrid fashion. So it can be done with great efficiency and with great effectiveness, whether we're talking across the country or we're talking across the world. And that is a game changer, that if you are doing one particular role or one particular function in a very specific company, and that's the only thing that you're doing, you don't have the ability to offer that diversity to others.
So that kind of leads into the next question. So why
Yeah.
is professional leadership critical in today's market?
Yeah. So the market, I think it's fair to say, is evolving at a rate that exceeds our capacity, whether it's our individual capacity or our collective capacity as a team, to keep up. I'm not talking about get ahead. I'm talking about keep up.
Mm-hmm.
There are too many variables that we do not control that are changing faster than we can keep up with them, whether it is technological change, whether it is data transformation, whether it's information dominance, other elements of the financial markets. There are a lot of variables out there that we don't control. But by having the opportunity to immerse ourselves simultaneously in a multitude of industries and sectors and derive the best learning from that and apply it to those who need it now. I'm a big fan of the terminology that we used in the Navy a number of years ago. I don't think it's unique to the Navy. I certainly don't think it's unique to the defense sector, but I do believe it helps us all out in any industry or any sector, and that's right training, right time, right place. So we don't need to know it all. We need to know exactly what we need right now to put our companies and our teams in a decisive competitive advantage, and then grow and scale and do the things that we need to do to evolve our company. What's happening with respect to conventional or traditional academic foundations may not provide, and in fact, most cases doesn't provide the agility and what I'll call the speed of advance that young entrepreneurs and young founders need today. Whereas what Barr Business School does, as you so well know, is provide that decisive right training, right time, right place to the people that need it for the purpose that they need it. And it's focused and it's customized to them. As you've heard me say many times, if someone doesn't need horses, I will never recommend to them to build a barn. But when they need that exact right training and that right learning, Barr Business School does that. The other thing that I'll share is, and we've talked about this a little bit, and this is not a play on words. I believe this is true. There's a big difference between training and learning. I've always believed that training is an opportunity that someone provides for us. Learning is what we take away from that training and what we consciously choose to change our behavior in the future. And a lesson learned is truly a lesson learned when we change the way we're acting and we change our leadership and we make new things happen. So for me, it's all about training and learning, and we got to have both.
And you know what? That's one of our core values. We teach in order to learn, and we learn in order to teach, which is one of my core values.
Absolutely.
So, everybody's talking about AI these days.
Mm-hmm.
Leverage AI to expand our portfolios and professional goals.
Yeah, AI, I was having this conversation with a colleague earlier today, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well. AI is a tool. It was created by human beings, for human beings, for the betterment of humanity. It's our duty and our responsibility not only to use it in a responsible fashion, but to ensure that we educate and train others to use it in a responsible fashion, and to learn as much as we can about it. I just concluded a short seminar that was put on by a colleague of mine, relevant to some of the latest trends in AI. And I was inspired to learn that many academic institutions in the United States have made AI mandatory for use and implementation in their various curriculum. And it required professors at all levels of education to learn as much as they could about it and implement it in a way that's meaningful. So I would say that the two things for me that stand out are this. If you are an entrepreneur, if you are starting a business, if you have a business that is successful and it has been growing, number one, how can you and your leadership team learn as much as possible about AI to benefit you and your organization moving forward? And then number two, when you choose to employ it, how are you employing it intentionally and decisively aligned with your strategic goals? It's not, I'm going to use ChatGPT to help me write my business plan. That's not what it is. It's understanding how you're going to use it in a very deliberate and very decisive fashion to help you achieve your goals faster. I don't know the answers to those questions, but that's the learning journey that I want to be on, and that's how I feel it's important to account for that and implement it.
So I personally love AI and challenged our team. What are we going to do differently or more of in Q4?
Mm-hmm.
So I use AI with one thread for Barr Business School. Everything I do is in that thread because it's machine learning. So it learns my sense of humor, it learns marketing, it learns our audience, etc., our courses. And so I said, I am challenging you, ChatGPT, to tell me what to do differently and more of in the Barr Business School in Q4. And you know what? It was fabulous because it said, well, as you move from freemium to paid courses, and it gave me 5 different ideas. And I thought, okay, so I feel like I'm dealing with a colleague. Because I really do use it for ideation.
Yeah.
I ask it for advice and it gives me advice. And then, of course, I massage it. It's not like I use exactly what I get.
Of course.
But it's so helpful.
Oh, absolutely. I have a colleague that writes that way. He will think about something that he wants to write, and he will use AI to get a different perspective, and that will help him think about things that he didn't think about, and then he will modify his thought process accordingly. And it's phenomenal. And as you talked about the opportunity for machine learning to occur and for that adaptation to occur, and it really is tremendous. I made the statement about the business plan because I do know some people that have done that, and I'm sure it'll do a phenomenal job. But it really is important to have that learning component. And you're exactly right. How are you using it? And how are you going to do more? Because there really are two choices when there's something like that occurs. That is a major generational shift with respect to, an overhaul of thinking and an overhaul. It's a massive transformational change, no doubt. Across what we have happening in the marketplace today, and really in the fabric of society as well. So I don't want to diminish that at all. But my point being that when something like that happens, there are two paths. One path is don't use it, ignore it. The other path is learn everything you can about it and use it to your decisive competitive advantage.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So, wearing your Alakai leadership hat, what is the most important attribute of organizational leadership and why?
So, from an organizational standpoint, it to me, it comes down to three elements, but they're all integrated and they must all be synchronized. That is the intersection. So it's one thing, but it's three elements. So I can get away with having three answers instead of one. Because most important is very explicit. Most, there can be only one most. So the most important thing is the intersection between the organization's vision, their strategy or their plan to make that vision happen, and the extent to which they inspire their people. There are a lot of organizations that have a big, bold vision and people get excited and wow, this is what we want to do. And we want to, we want to impact, 2 billion people and we want to, change this element of society, or we want to disrupt this element of the market and totally reframe the way this entire industry is done. And that's great. That's a wonderful vision. What's the plan specifically to make it happen? We have to break that down and deconstruct it into the action steps. And there's no one methodology that works more effectively than another, in my view. There are a lot of great methodologies out there. You have to have a system, but it's got to be simple. It's got to be clear. It has to be straightforward and people have to love it. It can't be a 500-page document that sits there with 15 apps and people are trying to figure it out. No, it has to be, here's the vision. Here's where we want to be in the next 5 years. Here's the plan of action to make it happen. Here's what we have to do next week. Here's what we have to do next month. Why? Here's what we have to do next quarter. Why? Here are the goals and the KPIs that we have to achieve. And people have to read it and they have to say, oh, I understand it. It's simple. It's clear. I know what my role is. I know how and why what I do matters. I know how and why what I do contributes to that goal, and the inspirational factor, that third pillar for the organization to be effective. People have to know that they are valued. They have to know they're respected. They have to know they're trusted. They have to know that their leaders and their managers have their back, and that it's okay to make a mistake when you're trying hard and you're working on something and your heart's in the right place. It's okay to make a mistake. No, it's not okay to be culpably inefficient. No, it's not okay to know something's wrong and do it wrong. That's a completely different conversation. But leaders and managers at all levels have to inspire people, and people have to know that they have their back and that it's okay to make a mistake in pursuit of excellence. When you have that, and there's an intersection and there's an interconnection and there's a synchronicity, if you will, between the vision, the plan, and the people. In my experience, a team like that is unstoppable. And for the organization, it's rare. It's a rare thing. Hold on tight and enjoy the ride because it's going to be phenomenal. Generally speaking, where I have seen breakdowns and where organizations aren't effective, it's because it starts at that foundation. There's a crack somewhere between the vision, the plan, and the people. And once that's repaired, you're back off to the races. So that synergistic point, that fulcrum, if you will, between those three, that's the most important thing for organizational leadership.
Love that. So here's a fun question, Joe.
Okay.
Skipper, as I like to call you. I'm teasing you. So
All good.
what do you wish you would have known before you started your first company?
I wish that I would have known that it's not about sales and revenue. I wish I would have known that it's not about clients. And I wish I would have known that it's not about revenue. Everything we do is about people. Everything we do is about whether you provide a service, whether you manufacture goods, whether you're a solopreneur, or whether you're a fleet of a global organization with 95 business units and 120,000 people around the world, excuse me. Everything that we do is about creating lasting value for our customers, making sure that we either meet or preferably exceed our customers' expectations, and that what we're doing for them is creating long-term value. We're creating an experience. We're creating something that they say, wow, I'm so glad that I worked with Barr Business School. I'm so glad that I had this opportunity. And not only do I want to do more with you, and not only do I want to build a longer term relationship, I want to refer you to my friends and family, and I want to bring in other colleagues of mine and other business partners, because this is something that's truly remarkable. I feel like I knew that was important, but when I left the military and I began this foray into entrepreneurship, I made perhaps a rookie mistake, and I thought that what I was doing was trying to get clients, and what I was doing was trying to get sales. And what I've learned is that it's the same thing that I did when I was in the military that I'm doing now, building lasting relationships based upon mutual respect and trust. And from those relationships, great things come. So that's what I wish I would have known. And it took me about a year to figure that out. I kind of stumbled through some things, and maybe I had to make those mistakes myself, but I'm back on track now.
That's because you're a human and you're not a robot. Thank goodness, right? So
Absolutely.
when you're in our metaverse, you can either be an avatar or you could be a robot. Last time I saw you, you were a robot. So
I have to get in there and fix that.
to your avatar. So do you have any final words of wisdom to share for thinking of hiring fractional executives?
Yes. Understand that, not, as we talked earlier, right training, right time, right place, reframing that to the fractional executive, right leader, right time, right place.
Ooh.
If what you need for your company is a traditional, conventional, full-time person, terrific. That's wonderful. Consider that you may miss the best and fully qualified person for the job that you need done. Instead of thinking about, do I need a full-time person or do I need a fractional person? Think, what is the result that I need to create? What is the goal that I need to achieve? And what's the best and fully qualified, capable person to do that? It may just be that best and fully qualified and most resilient person who's capable of that can do so in a fractional capacity, and can actually, as I mentioned earlier, give you 100% of their knowledge, skills, and abilities at a fraction of the cost. And you don't have to worry about all the other things that go along with having a full-time employee. No insurance, no benefits, none of those other things. What you get instead are high-powered, high-octane results in a very, very precise and accurate fashion. Now, there's a big difference, Frumi. I know you and I have talked about this before. There's a big difference between precision and accuracy. Mm-hmm. The fractional executive gives you both. They're extremely precise. They're focused on your results and your results only. And they're accurate when it comes to being very effective and very efficient. I always tell the organizations that I support, I never focus on time. I focus on results. And that's what I wake up in the morning thinking about every day for the organizations that I support. How can I accelerate your business? How can I help you achieve your vision faster and better, but for my participation? And if a company can do that, and in most cases they can, if a company can do that at a fraction of the cost, why wouldn't they want to consider that option?
You know, when I wake up in the morning, I always think to myself, how can I kick the ball further down the road? Every day. I used to say, how can I push the peanut forward? But then I thought, that's silly. I'd rather push the ball down the road than pushing a peanut.
That's right. It.
So before we close,
yes,
sharing with our listeners what are BBS movement is all about. I mentioned when I introduced you that you led the transformation of 123,000 plus people. Share our BBS goal for making a change to today's education of entrepreneurs and leaders. How many people do we want to influence, Joe?
Yeah, it's millions, Frumi, and I'll tell you why. You used a very important word, and I want to reiterate that for our audience and those who are listening in today, and that's movement, right? Barr Business School is not a company, it's not an organization, it's not just a team. Barr Business School is a movement that is changing people's lives for the better, for long-term positive impact. We spoke about that a little bit earlier, how leaders understand and they know that their purpose is to create positive and lasting impact for others. So if you are an entrepreneur and you're starting a business, or you have started a business and you need specific help in certain areas to either educate yourself or to train your team, Barr Business School has you covered. And we're going to be able to deliver that for you in a very decisive and, like I said earlier, precise and accurate fashion. Let's say you are an HR director or a chief people officer or a CHRO at a larger organization or enterprise that's been around for a while, and you're challenged right now by things like employee engagement, turnover rate that's not conducive to your mission, and you're wasting millions, and in most cases, when we look at the entirety of the US market, billions of dollars. I think the figure most recently was close to 8 billion, if it's not higher, of the costs to replace employees who are disengaged, that leave. Barr Business School can help you with our customized and tailored courses to make sure that the employees that you have spent a lot of time and money hiring, training, and promoting don't leave because they don't feel engaged or they don't feel inspired. So those are just two examples that I would give. But I know that this movement, it will be changing people's lives for the better for quite some time to come. So thank you again for the opportunity.
So don't forget also, you as a veteran, our impact program is to offer free courses for veterans and their spouses. And we're doing that in honor of my father, who was in the very first of the Special Service Forces, which was called the Devil's Brigade. And so my daddy is on our website and his story is there. He took a lot of notes somehow when he was dropped behind enemy lines. I don't know how he did that. So that is why we have that impact program. So Joe, tell our viewers how to best contact you.
Sure. The best way that you can reach me is through my email, joe@barbusinessschool.com. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn profile is just Joseph Polanin, really easy to find. And you can do so either through our website or through a direct message. Either way, all three of those ways will get you to me, and I'll respond ASAP. I look forward to hearing from you and learning from you, and to ways we can support.
And you know what? I love that you think in threes, because I've heard that number several times in this conversation. Love threes too. So everyone, I'm Dr. Frumi Rachel Barr. This is Navigating the Jungle of Business. Thank you so much, Joe, for being here today, and also for being my business partner. I think you're fabulous. So see you all next time.